Right now, your heart feels tired, not because you cannot love, but because you have been giving love to people who never fully chose you. You kept hoping they would change, kept believing they would finally appreciate you, kept waiting for consistency, for clarity, for effort, but instead, you kept receiving mixed signals, temporary attention, half-hearted effort, and silent disappointment, because deep inside, you knew something painful. You were giving your all to someone who kept choosing others over you. Jesus is saying, my child, stop chasing people who keep showing you where you stand. Because when someone truly values you, you will not constantly compete for their attention. You will not feel emotionally neglected, you will not be left confused about your place in their life. Real love chooses clearly, real connection values consistently, real people make space for you naturally. Jesus says, my child, you were not created to beg for priority in someone's life. And yet, you kept shrinking yourself, accepting less than you deserved, ignoring red flags because you feared losing them, but slowly, you started losing yourself instead. Your peace disappeared, your confidence weakened, your emotions became dependent on how they treated you each day. Jesus is saying, my child, love should not feel like emotional survival. Because if someone truly wants you in their life, their actions will reflect it, not just their words, not temporary affection, not occasional attention when convenient, but consistent effort, consistent respect, consistent presence. And if someone repeatedly shows you that you are not a priority, believe them, not because you are unworthy, but because they are revealing their emotional capacity. Jesus says, my child, stop trying to convince people to value what they are not ready to appreciate. Because the more you chase unavailable people, the more disconnected you become from yourself. You begin abandoning your own needs, ignoring your own intuition, settling for crumbs while calling it love. But this season is ending now. You are learning something powerful. The right people will not require you to constantly prove your worth. They will choose you freely, respect you naturally, appreciate you genuinely. Jesus is saying, my child, stop exhausting yourself trying to earn love that should come naturally. Because your future relationships will not feel like competition, will not feel like confusion, will not leave you emotionally starving for consistency. What is truly meant for you will meet you with the same energy you give, and once you fully understand that, you stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop settling, because now, you know your value deeply. Jesus says, my child, release those who keep overlooking you. Your peace is too valuable to sacrifice. If you are ready to stop chasing people who refuse to fully choose you, type Amen and choose your peace today. Now, you begin understanding something important. Not everyone who gives attention is truly available for love. Some people enjoy connection, but fear commitment. Some enjoy your presence, but cannot offer emotional stability. And if you ignore the signs, you can lose yourself trying to love someone who is emotionally closed off. Jesus is saying, my child, pay attention to patterns, not temporary moments. One of the first signs is this: they are inconsistent. One day they are deeply interested, the next day they become distant, cold, unavailable, and this emotional unpredictability keeps you confused and attached, because you keep chasing the version of them that appeared briefly. Jesus says, my child, inconsistency is often a sign of emotional unavailability. Another sign: they avoid deep emotional conversations. Whenever things become serious, they change the subject, disappear emotionally, or pull away completely, because emotional intimacy scares them, and instead of communicating honestly, they create distance. Jesus is saying, my child, people who fear emotional closeness often sabotage real connection. Another sign: you constantly feel uncertain about where you stand. You analyze their behavior daily, you search for reassurance constantly, and instead of feeling secure, You feel anxious most of the time, because emotionally unavailable people rarely provide consistent emotional safety. Jesus says, "My child, love should not leave you, constantly questioning your value." Another sign, they only show up when convenient for them, when they feel lonely, need attention, or want emotional comfort, but when you truly need support, they disappear, and over time, the relationship becomes emotionally one-sided. Jesus is saying, "My child, stop calling emotional inconsistency love." Because real love shows up consistently, real care remains present during difficult moments, real connection creates stability, not emotional chaos. At this stage, you may realize something painful: you were trying to receive deep love from someone incapable of giving it fully, and no matter how much effort you gave, you could never heal their emotional unavailability for them. Jesus says, "My child, you cannot force emotionally unavailable people to become emotionally healthy through your love alone. That is why you must stop personalizing their distance, stop blaming yourself for their inconsistency, stop thinking you are not enough. Because their inability to connect deeply is not proof of your lack of worth, it is proof they still have healing to do themselves." Jesus is saying, "My child, choose relationships where love flows with peace, clarity, and consistency." If you are ready to stop chasing emotionally unavailable people, type Amen and choose healthier love. Now, you finally see the truth clearly. You understand the inconsistency, the emotional distance, the confusion that kept hurting your heart, but even after realizing all this, part of you still feels attached, because attachment does not disappear instantly, especially when hope was involved. You kept hoping they would change, hoping they would suddenly choose you fully, hoping your love would eventually be enough to make them emotionally available. But listen carefully, Jesus is saying, "My child, stop waiting for potential while ignoring reality." Because healing begins when you accept people for who they are now, not who you hope they might become someday. The first step to detachment is this: stop chasing clarity from inconsistent people, because emotionally unavailable people often create confusion instead of honest answers, and the more you seek reassurance from them, the more emotionally dependent you become. Jesus says, "My child, their inconsistency already gave you the answer." The second step: create emotional distance, not just physical distance, but mental distance too. Stop replaying old memories constantly. Stop checking their social media. Stop imagining future scenarios with someone who cannot fully meet you emotionally, because every time you reconnect mentally, you reopen emotional attachment again. Jesus is saying, "My child, you cannot heal while continuously feeding the attachment." The third step: reconnect with yourself, your peace, your goals, your self-worth, because for too long, your emotional state depended on them, their attention determined your mood, their distance affected your confidence, their inconsistency controlled your emotions. But now, you must return that power to yourself. Jesus says, "My child, stop abandoning yourself while trying to keep unavailable people close." At first, detachment feels uncomfortable. You may miss them deeply, feel lonely sometimes, feel tempted to reach out again, and that is normal. Healing is not instant, but every time you choose peace over attachment, you become stronger emotionally, more grounded spiritually, more aligned with healthier love. Jesus is saying, "My child, every step away from emotional confusion brings you closer to emotional peace." Because one day, you will experience a connection where effort flows naturally, where love feels safe, where communication feels clear, where you are fully chosen, without begging, without chasing, without emotional suffering. And when that day comes, you will finally understand why this painful attachment had to end. Jesus says, "My child, let go of unavailable love. You deserve real emotional peace." If you are ready to emotionally detach and heal, type Amen and begin protecting your peace today. Now, something inside you begins to feel lighter, not immediately, not all at once, but slowly, quietly. The emotional chaos starts fading, the overthinking becomes less intense, the constant need for their attention begins disappearing, and for the first time in a long time, you feel your peace returning. Jesus is saying, "My child." Emotional freedom begins the moment you stop chasing unavailable love. Because when you finally let go, you stop carrying emotional weight that was never yours to carry. You stop forcing people to love you properly, you stop trying to earn consistency from people committed to confusion, and that changes everything inside you. Jesus says, "My child." Peace enters your life when unhealthy attachment leaves it. At first, you may still think about them sometimes, miss certain memories, feel emotional waves unexpectedly, but now, those feelings no longer control you, because healing has already begun, and every day you choose yourself, you grow stronger emotionally, more grounded spiritually, more connected to your worth. Jesus is saying, "My child." Your healing is teaching you what love should never cost you again. At this stage, you begin noticing something powerful. Your confidence returns. Your energy returns, your joy no longer depends on someone else's attention, and because of that, you stop settling for emotional crumbs, you stop romanticizing inconsistency, you stop calling emotional neglect love. Because now, you see clearly, you realize something important: you were never difficult to love, you were simply attached to someone emotionally unavailable. Jesus says, "My child." The wrong connections made you question your worth, the right connections will remind you of it. And now, healthier energy begins entering your life, more peaceful conversations, more genuine people, more emotionally safe environments, because when you stop clinging to unhealthy attachment, you naturally create space for healthier love to find you. Jesus is saying, "My child." Letting go was not your loss, it was your liberation. So don't look backward now, don't reopen emotional wounds that God already helped you heal from, don't return to relationships that only survive through your suffering, because what is meant for you will not require emotional exhaustion to maintain, it will bring peace, clarity, consistency, and genuine love. Jesus says, "My child." Your peace is too valuable to trade for temporary attention. If you are finally letting go emotionally and choosing your peace, type Amen and continue healing forward.